Meantime, tonight, relief is in New York City as the police have arrested the suspect accused of pulling the Brooklyn subway shooting. Still, the incident is prompting some panic across this country as Democratic-led cities continue to face a recent surge in violence. For reaction to all of this, let's welcome to the show Congresswoman Cammack from House Homeland Security, along with MTA police officer J.W. Cortez. If I may start with you, Officer Cortez, obviously the public is relieved that the suspect has been apprehended. But there are so many people who will say this was an absolutely heinous crime that could have been prevented with more police presence on the subway platforms. What is being done to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
I think what we do is we listen to the public, and what we do is we follow their lead, and what they want is more police officers to be present on their subway system. This is an omnipresent effort. What we're trying to say is that if you put more cops out there, the likelihood that this person would have passed it by at least one or two cops, that may have thwarted this attack. And I think what it does is it also sends a very strong message that if you two are thinking about causing us harm, well, guess what? We'll be there. And so this is just another strong reminder at an incredibly high cost that we need more cops on our system and throughout our streets in here in New York City.
Yeah, and Congresswoman, I want to get your view on this too and read you two headlines. The New York Post says after the latest bloodbath, time is running out for Hochul and Adams to save New York City. Obviously looking at the leadership here, waiting for Eric Adams to step up to those campaign promises that he made to be elected. And also from NBC News, why Brooklyn subway shooting and growing transit crimes threaten New York City's return to normal. There's two pieces to this, right? You need the right leadership in place to put a program in place that will make New York City people feel safer and people that are commuting into work here. And also, this city is in desperate shape after the pandemic and needs a lot of help. If people feel scared, they are not going to return to work.
You're 100% right, Jackie. You know, those headlines are indicative of where the Democratic Party and these large cities in blue states and blue cities are at. This is where the Democrats, especially in these midterm elections, are going to find themselves in a tough spot. They have been more intent on following a political agenda that is rooted in defund police movement than actually listening to their constituency and following through on the needs of the communities that they serve. And that is going to be a huge reckoning come this November. Eric Adams, being a former law enforcement officer himself, you would think that he would understand some of the trials and tribulations that our law enforcement community goes through. And of course, we saw NYPD being defunded at some of the biggest levels across the country. This is where we need to get serious. If you're going to be serious about tackling crime, you're going to fully fund the police. You are going to shut down our border. You are going to put the resources in the hands of those people that are on the front lines. You're not going to talk about it. You're going to do it. So, yeah, they're running out of time.
Yeah, and you're a representative from Florida, where so many New Yorkers have gone during the pandemic and even after. We're fleeing so many things here. High taxes, crime, quality of life is completely diminished. And so, you know, you look at Florida and see that it really blossomed during the pandemic in some ways because it doesn't have these issues.
Absolutely. You know, we believe in constitutional freedom in the Sunshine State, and we have a tremendous leader in Governor Ron DeSantis. We think that you as an individual should have the right to uphold the Second Amendment, and we believe in that. And so we have a well-armed constituency here. We have low crime rates. We believe in medical freedom. We believe in all the things that an individual can do when they are granted those rights and they're upheld and protected. That's why we have so many people from all across the country fleeing to Florida, because we are for freedom, we are for faith, we are for families, and that is what people are longing for. Not more lockdowns, and certainly not for defunding the police.
Officer Cortez, if I can come back to you, because we've been talking about Mayor Eric Adams here, you know, despite the fact that he was in isolation because of COVID-19, he still managed to make media rounds to address the heinous act from yesterday. What he had to say on America's Newsroom on Fox News was quite interesting about the city's soft on crime policies. Let's listen and get your reaction.
It's a combination of things. Number one, we need to make sure the laws are clearly stating that dangerous people won't be part of a revolving door justice systems. Number two, we need to uncrowd our courts. Too many cases are not in the courts where dangerous people are not going through our judicial system to serve the time from the crimes that they committed already. And it is crucial. we will do our job as law enforcement. As I indicated, we are taking the guns off the streets. We're taking the dangerous people off the street. It's imperative that every arm of our criminal justice system is operating at its optimum.
So the issue that I see here, officer, is essentially that you need all of the pieces of the machine to work together, right? So the mayor's heart is in the right place. The NYPD certainly wants to fight crime, but then you've got a district attorney who's essentially deciding what happens within the court system, right? And he doesn't want to prosecute certain crimes. He lets people out that have a long rap sheet to commit the same kinds of crimes over and over again. So how is it that Eric Adams can stand here and say this on one hand, and then DA Alvin Bragg is operating in a completely different way? If that's the case, we're never going to move forward, correct?
That's 100% correct. And this is the great mystery that we're dealing with. What I think is happening is that now more and more folks, people who probably weren't so interested in politics themselves, just wanted to kind of like, live their lives here in New York City and kind of get by. What they're doing is they're saying, wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me that this is all being held up not by the mayor, not by the police commissioner, not by anyone else but this one DA, especially in the borough of Manhattan. So I think the more and more people that get involved and are listening to what's actually happening behind these closed doors and how these criminals are just being let out, I think the more and more upset they'll become, the more action will take place. And then at some point, we're going to have to hold their feet to the fire and say, hey, this person was killed, this person was shot, this person was stabbed, and it's all because you let them out of jail. No one else but you. So I think that is definitely bigger than what we probably even understand at this moment.
Yeah, and I'll just close by reminding our viewers the governor does have the power to remove the district attorney, so Kathy Hochul could act if she wants to. This will become a big issue when the governor's race approaches later this year, and so we'll be watching to see what people vote for and what they want, what kind of change they want to see. Great to have you both tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.